Hello, and welcome to The Connection. I'm Emma Winram, your host for this edition of The Connection podcast on Monday, April 20th. With me today is a special guest, Jack Winram. He's the Executive Director for the Manitoba Environmental Industries Association. In the last few weeks, he's been working from home, managing the association's business during this pandemic. Hi, Jack. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Let's get started. First, Jack, how are you managing through these crazy times?
Yeah, it's definitely crazy times, unprecedented, not something my generation's been through, or yours for that, probably for the last few generations. But we're finding our groove. About the middle of March, we started working from home, and yeah, it's been going well. Family's good, everyone's healthy, friends are healthy, so no complaints.
So what is MIA? What does the Manitoba Environmental Industries Association do?
Yeah, we're a member-based association. We've been around since 1991. Our members represent anybody who has a business in the industry, the environmental industry. Everything from natural resources, energy, the environment, remediation, hazardous waste cleanup, waste collection companies are our members. And on their behalf, we'll advocate for them, provide training and workforce development, engagement, awareness. Basically, we work for them. We are their representative for networking and representing the industry in general.
So you say you're a member-based industry organization. How are you and your members impacted by this pandemic?
Yeah, I think like every other business, there certainly has been a significant impact. Maybe not as much as the restaurant industry and some other service industries, but certainly as the social distancing requirements and as the experts have been advising, the industry has been impacted as well. We are a little bit unique. In the first phase of this pandemic, I think everybody was trying to figure out how to deal with the situation, how to transition from working at the office to working at home, and now the industry, as we've been letting the healthcare workers, the frontline workers, the essential service medical field address this situation, and they are continuing to address this situation. Our members are going to play a more essential role going forward in this COVID-19 epidemic, especially during the recovery, because it's our members provide services for waste cleanup, hazardous remediation, and the environment in general.
So how is your organization funded?
Yeah, it's a good question. As I mentioned before, we represent the natural resources, energy, and environment sector. So we are the sector council for the province of Manitoba, and under the sector council program, we get funding from education development or economic development from the province, and that funding is twofold. One arm is from the federal government, and the other arm is from the provincial government.
How do you think businesses will recover after this is all over?
We're in for a long road. I think businesses are hurting right now. The main thing is that we're all safe and healthy, and the healthcare system is able to deal with the pandemic situation. But we are going to have to turn our attention to the economy here quickly, hopefully sooner than later. Again, first and foremost, health and safety, but our industry, like any other industry, has been impacted greatly. And again, I think we have a significant role, our members have a significant role to play in the recovery.
How is the environment being impacted from this pandemic?
Yeah, good question. There's been a lot in the media about that. If you believe, which I do, that human beings in our economy and the way we live does have an economic impact, we do have an economic footprint, then it would also extend that as we've lessened our travel as we've shut down our economy, that there would also be an impact. So I think that translates into a very interesting time for scientists to be looking at what new baselines are we going to find? What new data are we going to find? We are seeing information articles out there about better air quality in large centers, wildlife moving into areas that they haven't been in before because of the less human traffic. And the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. I think there's a bit of a study out there to be made. How much greenhouse gas emission reduction has there been? What has this shutdown across the globe done for that? I'm seeing conflicting reports. Some saying that it'll have a significant drop in greenhouse gas emissions, but I think the time will tell. It's likely that depending on how we recover from this, we're either going to get right back to where we were before, but what I hope is that maybe we can find a way to exist with a better green economy than we were before. So I think it's an interesting time. We'll be studying this time in history scientists will be studying this time in history for a long time, because it's going to set a new baseline for data.
And what's the next step for MIA right now?
Yeah, right. As I said, we're going to play a significant role in the upcoming recovery with a lot of our members. We've actually formed a COVID-19 working group, which is a list of companies who provide services in remediation and protocols and guidelines on how to get back to the workplace. I would say of all the industries, our industry would represent quite a lot of expertise in that role, and so it's essential that our companies and our association members across the board, from clean tech to environmental remediation, are participating in the economy going forward. So, with this working group that we're putting together, we're going to create a portal for industry to ask questions to a panel of experts in the environmental sector area, and hopefully we can brainstorm and find out some ways that we can work together to get back on track.
Where do you see the association and its members in 5 years?
Yeah, I think just from a personal perspective, I'd like to see the association grow to, I don't think it's outside the reach to double in size, both in membership and the amount of deliverables that we provide to the environmental sector and the clean tech sector. It's with the expansion of our mandate from the funding of the province and the federal government that I spoke of. There's a lot of opportunity to reach out to industry members in the oil and gas sector, the mining sector, the forestry sector, any sector that is involved in resource extraction. And then again, the opportunity to perhaps come out of this crisis that we're in, sort of rising from the ashes, so to speak, to be a better, greener economy than it was before. And so I think as the association participates, that we can be the association that is the go-to for all of those different sectors I just mentioned from an environmental perspective.
You mentioned MIA student. MIA has a student chapter. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, one of the things I was really pleased about when I joined MIA a few months ago as their executive director is they had a discovery night, and the student chapter at the University of Manitoba, along with some students that participate from the University of Winnipeg, they hold a couple events every year. They have their own executive, and they've done a really good job of hosting events through the year for mentoring, speed mentoring. They had a discovery night with a huge amount of participants from both the industry and the students. So it's a chance for students to get connected with employers and find out what those future jobs are. again, for students who are in the environmental sciences area, any student right now is got to be, a little bit concerned about the future, the uncertainty of that. And I think associations like ourselves and our student chapters, having strong student chapters, is going to be important going forward. I think what impresses me most about our student chapter is that at our speed mentoring nights and our connection nights, the mentors who participate that were once university students themselves, and this is their opportunity to give back, and they are doing that. So it's quite impressive.
Well, that ends our show for today. I'd like to thank our guest, Jack Winram from MIA, for being on the show.
Appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
We hope you enjoyed our show about how nonprofit associations are coping. It was great having our guest on the show to talk about MIA and the environmental sector. I'm Emma Winram, and this is the Connection Podcast, our way of keeping you connected during the pandemic. Make sure you follow us on social media on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at LRSD TV, or on Twitter at LRSD_TV. Thank you for watching The Connection. Have a good day, and remember, stay safe and stay connected.